The cafe was almost closed. Chairs flipped, counters clean. The bitter smell of espresso lingered under the cinnamon rolls that no one had bought. Kayla was wiping the last milk steamer when her manager, Devin, popped his head out of the back office. "You'll finish up, yeah? I'm out." She didn't answer. He was always out when there was real work left. As the door slammed behind him, the silence settled. It was the kind that made the fluorescent lights buzz louder. Her hands ached. Her feet had stopped feeling like hers an hour ago. Then the doorbell jingled. She looked up. A man stood there, soaked from the rain. Black t-shirt, old boots, helmet in one hand. He looked out of place, like a ghost who'd taken a wrong turn and ended up in a coffee shop. "Sorry," she called. "We're closed." He didn't step further, just nodded. Didn't mean to bother, just needed a minute out of the rain. There was something in his voice, low, careful, kind. Kayla sighed. 1 minute. He nodded again and stepped inside, moving with a kind of stillness. Not tired, exactly. More like he didn't want to add noise to the room. Then, without asking, he picked up the mop. "You missed a corner," he said softly, smiling. She blinked. I got it. I don't mind." She should have told him no, but something about the way he moved, calm, precise, it made her pause. He mopped in slow, practiced strokes, like he'd done it before, like he knew exactly how to rinse, wring, pull. "Where'd you learn that?" she asked. "Lots of places." He didn't elaborate, and she didn't push. They worked in silence for a while. Her at the counter, him with the mop. Just two people who didn't owe each other anything. And yet the room felt different. After a few minutes, he finished, propped the mop against the sink, and nodded once. "Thanks for the shelter." Then he walked out. No flirting, no name, no awkward smile. Just gone. Kayla stood there for a second, unsure what had just happened. Then she chuckled, tired but genuine, and started locking up. The next morning was louder. Rush hour. Machines hissing. Orders shouted. Devin leaning on the register, like he was holding court, not managing anything. Kayla moved fast, muscle memory now. Make the drinks. Smile. Pretend you're not dying inside. Then the room shifted. A wave of murmurs swept through the cafe. She looked up. It was him, the man from last night. Dry this time. Same quiet presence. Helmet in one hand. Dark coat now. Collar turned up. But now, people noticed. A girl near the window gasped. A man dropped his stir stick. Kayla froze mid-pour, because she saw what they saw now. Keanu Reeves. Not a look-alike. Not a maybe. It was him. And he was walking straight toward the counter. Straight toward her. Before she could speak, Devin stepped in. Too eager. Too loud. "Mr. Reeves? Wow. Big fan. Real honor. What can we get you?" Keanu's eyes didn't leave Kayla. "I was hoping to speak to the woman from last night." Devin blinked, smile faltering. Kayla stepped forward, heartbeat thudding. "You came back." Keanu nodded. Still raining. She smiled despite herself. "I can take your order," she said. He handed her a small folded napkin. "Just coffee." She rang it in before Devin could intercept. Handed him the cup. No fanfare. He stepped to the side, sipped once, and sat at the corner table, the quiet one, half hidden by the plant, and just stayed. Hours passed. He didn't speak to anyone else. Just read. Sketched in a worn notebook. Devin couldn't sit still. He hovered, barked fake friendly things at staff, offered free croissants. "He's scouting," he whispered to Mia, eyes locked on Keanu. "Bet he's opening something. A brand. A show. A pop-up." Mia rolled her eyes. Maybe he just likes coffee. But Devin wasn't convinced. Then Keanu stood up, walked back to the counter, placed a folded slip of paper on it. Not a receipt, not a note, and looked at Kayla. "Tonight, if you want." Then he walked out. She unfolded the paper. An address. A time. Nothing else. "What's that?" Devin asked, trying to peer over her shoulder. She folded it again. just a tip, and walked away. The sky was bruised by evening. Gray clouds sagged low. Streetlights blinked on like tired eyes. Kayla stood across from the old bookstore, holding the note in one hand, doubt in the other. Why me? The windows were dark, but not empty. Faint glow inside, a flicker of motion. And then the door opened. Keanu, same coat, same calm. He gave a slight nod, stepping aside. You came. She hesitated. What is this place? You'll see. Inside, the air was warm, lamp-lit. Wooden shelves lined the walls, full, not dusty, not forgotten. Books on kindness, stillness, journals half-filled, poetry that didn't try to impress. The space felt held. She turned. You reopened it? He shook his head. I restored it. Someone had to. In the center stood a barista setup, stripped down. Elegant. Chalkboard menu. No prices. Just 3 words. Pay what you can. Kayla blinked. This is a cafe? He nodded. A soft one. She smiled despite herself. What's a soft cafe? He gestured to a table. Sit. You'll feel it. She did. And he poured tea. Not handed. Poured. Gently. Slowly. Then he slid a journal across the table. For people who need to leave something behind. She stared at the blank page. She didn't write a lot. Just enough. A line about exhaustion. A line about being invisible. A line about not knowing when she stopped feeling like a person and became part of counter. When she finished, she looked up. Keanu was watching. Not reading. Just present. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded. You needed space. That's all. They sat a while longer. No rush, no talk, just quiet. And for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel like a worker. She felt like a person again. When he walked her out, the rain had returned. But it felt different now. Cleaner.
Devin couldn't sleep. He replayed everything. Keanu walking in, asking for Kayla, sitting for hours like he owned the place. And Kayla? Smirking. Like she knew something he didn't. At 2:04 a.m., he opened his laptop. Typed an email to regional management. Subject: Staff conduct concerns, urgent. Vague complaints. Insubordination. Inappropriate customer interactions. Enough to stir trouble. Enough to cast a shadow. He hit send with a smirk. Because if something big was happening, if Keanu Reeves was starting a business, Devin wasn't going to be left behind. Or worse, outshined. Morning came with a bitter chill. Inside the cafe, Kayla moved on autopilot. She hadn't told anyone about the bookstore. It felt too fragile. Like something that might vanish if exposed to gossip. Then Mia pulled her aside near the syrup shelf. Devin's acting weird, she said. Like even for him. I heard him on the phone this morning. He said your name. Kayla's stomach dropped. Maybe he's mad I closed alone again. Mia raised an eyebrow. He said, reputation risk. That doesn't sound like mop duty. Before Kayla could respond, the door opened. 2 men walked in, buttoned shirts, no coffee order. Corporate. They went straight to Devin. He greeted them like royalty. All smiles. All teeth. Then turned and called out, Kayla, they need a word. Her heart pounded. She followed them into the office. The room was cold. We're not accusing you of anything, one man said. Just gathering information. About what? About your relationship with a recent guest. Mr. Reeves. She blinked. What relationship? There's been concern about boundaries. Favoritism. And about you leaving during your scheduled hours. She felt like laughing, but it caught in her throat. This is about Devin, isn't it? She said quietly. He made something up. The men looked at each other. Before they could speak, the door opened. Softly, Keanu stepped in. No knock. No apology. Just presence. Good morning, he said calmly. I'd like to speak on her behalf. The room froze. One man half stood. Mr. Reeves, this is a private. She's done nothing wrong, Keanu interrupted. I asked her to meet me. I initiated it. If anyone crossed a line, it was me. The room held its breath. Keanu continued. Kayla's one of the most grounded, decent people I've met in a long time. If this company punishes her, it's not protecting its values, it's burying them. Silence. Then, understood, one man said. We'll take that into consideration. Keanu nodded once. Then turned to Kayla. You okay? She nodded. Then we're done here. And they left together, leaving Devin standing outside the office, ghost white. Because in that moment he understood. He didn't just file a complaint against an employee. He tried to shame someone Keanu Reeves respected. And now, he'd lost. The fallout came faster than expected. By lunch, word had spread through the cafe like spilled milk. Customers whispered. Staff stared. Mia handed Kayla a drink and leaned in. He defended you. In front of management. Kayla gave a half smile. Yeah. Still feels like it didn't happen. Devin's losing it, Mia added. He's been in the back office all morning. Door slammed twice. As if on cue, Devin emerged, pale, tense, avoiding eye contact. He didn't bark orders. He didn't speak to Kayla. He just left. And didn't come back. By 3 p.m., his name disappeared from the staff schedule. Replaced by, to be determined. That evening, a quiet man with gray hair walked into the cafe. Wore a camera bag and a jacket that had seen better days. He walked straight to Kayla. You're Kayla? She nodded. He handed her a small envelope. From Keanu. Then he turned and left without another word. Inside the envelope, a folded page in careful handwriting. There's something starting. Honest, small, but meaningful. It won't be glamorous. There's no press release. But there's room for someone like you. If you're interested, 9 a.m. tomorrow. Same bookstore. She read it twice. Then again. Something inside her, the part long buried under exhaustion and survival, stirred. The next morning she returned. Same door. Same sign. But now the bookstore breathed. Shelves dusted. Chalkboard menu hung behind a fresh espresso bar. Soft lamps. Jazz low in the background. And people. Not many. Just enough. Keanu stood behind the counter, tying an apron. Black, unbranded. His hair in a low bun. Calm as ever. She stepped inside. He looked up. You came. She nodded. I didn't want to miss it. He handed her an apron, soft cotton, stitched simply. On the chest. Be human. And with that she stepped behind the counter. Not as an employee. As something better. A builder. The first customer walked in at 9:22. A woman in a thrift store coat, hair tucked into a loose scarf, holding a paperback so worn it looked like it had lived in her bag for years. She hovered by the shelves, unsure. Kayla stepped out from behind the bar. Morning. Can I get you something? The woman hesitated. I don't have much. Kayla gestured to the chalkboard. Pay what you can. The woman blinked. Then placed a few coins on the counter. Just something warm. Kayla poured tea with both hands, slow and deliberate. The woman took the cup and sat by the window. She didn't open her book right away. She just held the cup and stared out, breathing slower. By noon, the word was out. But not in headlines, in murmurs. A different kind of cafe. No prices. No pressure. Just kindness. People trickled in. A teenager with paint on his hoodie. A man who spoke only with nods. A tired mom who didn't order anything, just sat with her child and breathed. Keanu moved like a shadow, mopping, fixing crooked frames, wiping tables. No spotlight. No ego. At one point he changed a light bulb without anyone noticing. Kayla didn't feel like staff. She felt like part of something honest. She poured coffee, shared smiles, watched people soften. One man left a note instead of money. I didn't think places like this existed. She taped it to the counter. Near closing, Mia arrived. She wore her old cafe apron over a hoodie and looked around, stunned. You weren't kidding, she whispered. This is real. Kayla nodded. Want to help? Mia grinned. Absolutely. They worked the counter together like old times, only this time, no Devin breathing down their necks, no timer, no upsell. At 6 o'clock, Keanu handed Mia a muffin. She stared. This is weird. You, actually you. He smiled. I get that a lot. Then he went back to cleaning the grinder. No speech. No cameras. Just a man with calloused hands and time to give. Kayla watched him from across the bar. She still didn't know why he picked her. But now she wasn't questioning it. She was living it. At 6:47 p.m., the door opened again. This time, it wasn't a poet or a painter or a tired stranger. It was a woman in sharp heels and a tailored coat. Hair pulled tight. Phone in hand. She didn't order. She scanned the space like she was appraising it. Like she'd seen too many boardrooms to be impressed by soft light and secondhand books. Her eyes landed on Keanu. You own this place? He looked up from wiping a table. Not exactly. She stepped closer. You're Keanu Reeves. The actor. The pause. Sometimes. Kayla watched from the counter. Something about the woman's tone felt wrong. Clean, but sharp. Like paper that cuts. I'm with Delos Ventures, the woman said. We're scouting small format concepts for lifestyle integration. Keanu just blinked. She pressed on. This could go global. Franchised. The quiet cafe model? Perfect for co-branded mindfulness retreats. Kayla frowned. The woman didn't notice. We can license the tone, the look. Build out a menu for influencers. Organic partnerships. Books optional. She handed him a card. Clean, white, embossed. Keanu took it, glanced at it, then looked up. This isn't for sale. The woman smiled like she'd expected that. Everything is. Eventually. Kayla felt something knot in her stomach. But Keanu just handed the card back. Gently. Respectfully. Then maybe I'm not. The woman blinked. First time her rhythm faltered. He continued, still calm. This isn't a brand. It's a place. People come here to feel human again. Not to be sold that feeling in a bottle. The woman stared at him, the silence louder than anything she could have said. Then she turned and walked out. The door closed behind her with a hiss of cold air. Kayla exhaled. Keanu walked over, quietly started wiping the same counter she was already cleaning. Did that happen? She asked. He nodded. More often than you'd think. She watched him for a moment. Why did you make this place? He didn't look up. Because too many people think healing is a product. He glanced at the door. And some things should never be scalable. They cleaned the rest in silence. But the room felt safer now. Like it had passed a test. The next morning, the cafe opened to rain and fog. No signs. No promotions. Just soft light through the windows and a kettle whistling in the back. Kayla arrived early. Keanu was already there, sleeves rolled, pouring beans into the grinder like he'd been doing it all his life. Morning, he said. She nodded. It's weird. I look forward to this. He smiled. That's not weird. Mia joined 15 minutes later, juggling pastries from a nearby bakery. We're out of oat milk, by the way. Kayla laughed. We're also out of money. We'll trade for muffins. At 10 a.m., a man walked in. Not someone they recognized. Not an artist. Not a neighbor. Devin. Clean-shaven, too clean. New coat. Old posture. He looked around like he'd just found the door to a secret club that no one had told him about. Kayla's shoulders tightened. Mia muttered, What does he want? Keanu looked up. Devin approached the counter. This is yours, huh? He said, voice low. Figures. Kayla said nothing. Devin smiled thinly. You should have told me. I could have helped. I've got marketing ideas. Connections. Keanu raised an eyebrow. You want a job? Devin straightened. Maybe. You'd mop floors? Devin blinked. I was thinking more operations. Keanu nodded slowly. Then pointed to the mop. Start with that. For a long second, no one moved. Then Devin laughed, fake sharp. You serious? Dead serious, Keanu said. That's how I started. Devin stared. The room stared back. Finally, he scoffed, stepped back and walked out. Mia whispered, He didn't even say goodbye. Keanu just went back to tamping espresso. Kayla stood still. She wasn't proud. She wasn't smug. She just felt clean. Later that day, an elderly man came in with a story about a missing cat. A teenager sat by the window sketching quietly, coffee gone cold. A woman left an envelope marked, "Thank you for seeing me." Inside, $3.28 and a pressed flower. Kayla held it like treasure. Because it was. And when the lights dimmed at closing, Keanu handed her a broom and said, "Tonight, your turn to mop." She rolled her eyes, but smiled as she took it. That night, Kayla stayed late. The cafe was dark except for a single table lamp left on near the window. Rain tapped the glass in soft rhythms. The floor was clean. The grinder was silent. Keanu was still there, seated at the back table, notebook open, pen in hand. He looked up when she approached. "You write?" she asked. He nodded. "Sometimes. When I don't want to forget." "Forget what?" He tapped the page. "Moments like this." She sat down across from him, suddenly aware of how quiet the world had become. "I don't know what this place is," she said, "but I've never seen anything like it." "It's not mine," he replied. "It's yours too." She looked at him. "You could have opened a dozen places like this. With press. With sponsors." "I didn't want noise," he said. "I wanted truth." She exhaled slowly. "Most people don't think like that. Most people forgot how to sit still." They sat in it, that stillness, for a long while. Outside, the rain eased. Inside, the world felt held together by breath and wood and the smell of warm tea. Then Keanu asked, "Why did you stay?" She blinked. "Stay where?" "At the cafe. When it was bad. When he didn't say Devin's name, kept walking over you." She paused. Then answered honestly, "I didn't think I had anywhere else to go." He nodded. "And now?" She looked around. The shelves. The empty mugs. The quiet promise of the space. "Now I don't want to go anywhere else." He smiled. Not a movie smile. A quiet one. On her way out, she passed the counter where the journal sat. She opened it to a fresh page and wrote only one sentence. "Some places don't save you. They just remind you you're still worth saving." Then she turned out the light.
The weekend came, and with it, people, not in swarms, in waves. Some wandered in off the street. Others followed whispered recommendations. A teacher, a mechanic, a woman who hadn't spoken in a cafe for a year. Each one stayed longer than they meant to. No one looked at their phones. No one asked for Wi-Fi. At one point, a man brought his guitar and quietly played by the window. No tip jar. No playlist. Just music. Kayla served drinks with a lightness she hadn't known she had. Mia kept a tally of stories left in the journal. Keanu handled dishes. His sleeves always damp, his hands always moving. No hierarchy. No uniforms. Just rhythm. On Sunday, a boy around 10 wandered in with his mother. He carried a sketch pad, dragging his feet. Kayla crouched behind the bar and said, "What's that you've got?" He shrugged. "I draw." Keanu walked over, wiped his hands on a towel, and nodded toward the sketch pad. "May I see?" The boy hesitated, then opened it. The pages were full of wild colors. Faces, streets, quiet monsters hiding in plain sight. Keanu studied them, then said softly, "You see things people miss." The boy didn't answer, but he stayed, drew in the corner for 2 hours. When he left the sketch behind. It showed a quiet cafe, glowing in the dark, with a man mopping the floor. Underneath, the boy had written, "The place that sees you back." That night, Kayla hung the drawing by the register, not as decoration, as a reminder, because no one here was trying to be saved. They were just trying to be seen, and that was enough. Monday morning started slow. Gray light, cold floors. The city hadn't woken up yet. Kayla unlocked the cafe alone. Keanu was running late for the first time. Mia would join later. She turned on the lights, started the kettle, and stood behind the counter in the quiet. It felt different now, like her space. Not borrowed. Not somebody else's project. Hers. Then the door opened. A woman stepped in, maybe late 50s, soft scarf, distant eyes. She looked unsure, like someone walking into a dream they half remembered. "Hi," Kayla said gently. "Welcome." The woman walked slowly to the counter. "Is this the bookstore?" "It used to be," Kayla said. "Now it's something a little different." The woman smiled faintly. "My husband proposed me here, between those shelves." She pointed. "He read me a line from a Neruda book and said, 'That's how I feel when you walk into a room.'" Kayla's throat tightened. The woman looked around. "He died 2 years ago. I haven't been back since." Kayla poured her tea without asking, gave it to her with 2 hands. She sat in the same spot, alone, but not lonely. She didn't cry. She didn't have to. Keanu arrived later, helmet under arm, coat dusted with cold. "You open alone?" he asked. Kayla nodded. "I liked it." He looked around. "Feels different." "It does." He started unpacking beans, quietly like always. Then he said, "I think you're ready." She looked up. "For what?" He paused, then smiled. "To run this." She blinked. "What?" "I'll still be around. But this place is yours, Kayla. You know its weight, its purpose, and its people." She didn't know what to say, so she didn't. She just nodded, tears close but held, because deep down she knew. Later that day, a new sign appeared on the chalkboard. Mia wrote it in looping script. "This is not a business. This is a table. You're invited." Closing time came slower now, not because of the clock, but because no one wanted to leave. The cafe had become something unspoken, not a place you pass through, but one you enter like a breath. Kayla stood by the window, watching the last light fade from the street. Her apron was dusted with flour. Her sleeves were damp. She'd never been prouder to be tired. Keanu finished sweeping. He leaned the broom against the wall, stretched his back, and looked around. "Quiet night," he said. "Good kind of quiet," she replied. He nodded, then walked to the journal, the same one he'd first offered her. He opened to a new page, wrote slowly, then closed it without a word. Kayla walked over, waited. He turned to her. "I think I'm done here," he said softly. She blinked. "Done." He nodded. "You don't need me anymore." "That's the point." A long silence passed. Then she smiled. "I'll save you a seat anyway." He grinned, the smallest, most honest one. "I'll be back. I just won't be the one mopping." He grabbed his helmet, gave her a small salute, and left. No farewell speech. No big ending. Just a jingle of the door, and then stillness. The next morning, Kayla arrived early, opened the door herself, lit the lamps, brewed the first pot of coffee. People came. They smiled at her like they knew she was the reason it still existed, because she was. On the counter sat the journal. She flipped to the page he had left. One line, handwritten in careful print. "You saw them. You stayed. That's all it ever takes." Kayla closed the book, turned the sign to open, and breathed. Sometimes change doesn't come with a speech. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. Sometimes it just walks in, picks up the mop, and reminds you that you matter, because the people who change our lives the most are rarely the ones who raise their voice, but the ones who stay late, clean up after others, and quietly say, "I see you."